we are now on the 12th episode of this series. I was sitting here starting to bite my nails with worry now. Has this series done well? Has it done rubbish? Have I gained viewers? Have I lost viewers? I don't know, because these intros are recorded way in advance, so we'll have to see, won't we? Hello and welcome back to Bug Realms. On this channel we like to discuss all things creepy crawly. If that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel. So we are near the end of the series now, ladies and gentlemen. We have only one more colour to feature next Sunday after this one. This is episode 12, guys. Episode 12. Oh, how many of them have you watched? Be honest with me in the comments below. Let me know if you've seen every single one of this series. Let me know if you're brand new here and are going to go back and watch the other colours. Or let me know if you only picked a few because you were only interested in a few, and let me know which colours those were. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at what animals I picked up that had black coloration. So here is the enclosure for our first black coloured animal on the channel. So you can see I have set it up there with your typical leaf litter, rotten white wood and all the goodness for millipedes. And that's right, guys, today we have the matte black millipedes. Now that's the common name. The correct name for these guys, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is Spiropoeus or Spiropoeus or something similar, fishery. Matte black millipedes from Cameroon. They are absolute giants, don't you think? Now I didn't actually realise the size of these guys, so they are in need of a desperate enclosure upgrade. But let's take a look at them before we talk about the upgrade needed. So you can see why they're called matte black millipedes. They have that. They do have a shine, but most segments are matte in colour with almost a shinier side in between. It's kind of if you mix your matte and silk paints all together and it forms this millipede. Of course they have striking red legs too, which kind of makes them stand out that bit more, and the red antenna. So I was really excited to get these guys. These are Danielle's favourite millipedes out of all the ones we bought, and I have to give a massive thanks to Bobby, one of my disciples of the realm, for giving us extra funding to get these millipedes. So here I was trying to sex them, and as far as I can tell, that one was female. Now you can sex millipedes by looking around the 7th segment, or you can look along the side to see if there is a gap in the legs, and as we can see there are none here, indicating that this one is female. It has none of the gonopods underneath, which would be the reproductive organs on the males. They do tend to curl up when you lift them, so it's not the easiest way to check, which is why I looked through the pot. Now on closer inspection they actually have a bit of a red head too, which is really striking against the black. I absolutely love these guys. They are incredibly curious, they are very active, and I really enjoy them. So you can see how this enclosure isn't quite big enough. So I have a reasonable amount of depth. The depth is about the length of these millipedes, but there's no climbing surfaces for them, and I do need it to be much wider, so I will be changing their home over shortly. Now these guys are super cool. In terms of breeding, I don't think they're going to be the easiest, but I do believe that it is possible. I've read some forums where some people have said that they've managed to do so. Now if you're going to compare these over your massive African train millipedes, these ones would be easier to breed than those. But saying that, again, it depends on their care. You've got to get it just right. You've got to make the environment perfectly right for these millipedes to want to breed. Got a closer look at the face there, which was really nice. Now, it's been a few weeks since I've done this voiceover, and what I can tell you is these guys, when I open the lid to their enclosure, they do start climbing out. They've done absolutely zero burrowing in the time they have been in here, which does concern me a little bit, and that's what brings me to the idea, the fact that they need some height too, they need some branches perhaps to climb on. So we are going to be working on this new enclosure for them. At the minute I maybe just move them into like a deeper rub, a really useful box enclosure, and then eventually we'll get them a fancy nice looking one so that we can watch them do their climbing and exploration. Now I have put them in a few bits of fruit and veg now and again, but they haven't been massively interested, but they have a very rich substrate. You can see the length of them against my hand there. I have around 7-inch hand span. So these guys are of a pretty gargantuous size. Not the biggest millipedes in the world, but definitely one of the top few. He's looking at the other. Now looking back on this footage, I'm trying to spot, and I believe that they are both female. That looked female to me. When I did it at the time, I should have recorded it. I should have wrote it down. Although there does appear to be almost a gap there, so I'm not entirely sure. As I said, I should have wrote it down in advance after I got them, but I was so excited to get them into their homes and do the footage that I forgot to jot down which ones were male and which ones were female, so I'm trying to get it off of memory serving there. I hope you enjoyed seeing our matte black millipedes. I'm sorry I couldn't provide you with a lot of information on their care, but I'm still learning when it comes to them. Hopefully I can show you guys the new setup for them in the future. If that's something you want to see, please comment me below so I know to make that video. If it's something you are not fussed about, if you don't care for millipedes, also comment me that below, just so I can gauge my audience and see where your interests lie in the world of creepy crawlies. So that's the last of our footage for our millipedes. Let's move on then. Before we continue this video, did you know that Bugzuk is affiliated with the Spidershop? So when you next need a stunning new tarantula, some healthy live food, well needed equipment, or just in the market for something unusual, please head over to the Spidershop via my personal and unique link in the description below. This won't cost you anything extra, but it gives me a little back in return for your loyalty. Thanks guys, now back to the video. So here is the enclosure for our next animal. Looks like an isopod setup, right? If you've been watching these series. Isopod setup for 10 or less? Well, you would be correct there. Here we have the A maculatum broken stripe, and these were from Isopods Online. The millipedes were from the Spidershop, by the way. So A maculatum is a species I already own. I own them. They are the zebra isopods. But why broken stripe? Well, these have been bred separately by Isopods Online to not have the full strips of white going across the body, giving them that full zebra appearance. Instead, they've isolated the ones that do not have the full straight perfection of lines, and a lot of keepers do this for A maculatum. They will separate those with the perfect lines with those with the not, and the ones with the perfect lines have a higher value ever so slightly, and that's what people tend to want. Me, I like oddities, and these are oddities, so to me these are more special than having your perfect lines. Now I do keep A maculatum as I said before, but by having this broken stripe colony, any ones that do have a broken stripe in them out of my colony can be placed into this one, and then I can line breed those with the perfect lines in my current colony. So I would like to own both. I thought this was an easier way of doing it than separating what is a pretty small colony right now in possibly half, which will mean there will be less breeding going on. It will take longer. By having a broken stripe colony already ready to go for me to add them into will just make life so much easier. You can see there is also a baby there. They come out just white with a black stripe on the back, and there is a juvenile too. And you can see how even that juvenile has the broken markings, and that is because this line is all broken markings, breeding with broken markings, which will make broken markings, and that's what I think is so special about them. You see another little white one there, another little young one that has been freshly molted. So what is it I like about these markings? I like the oddity, I like the uniqueness, I like how Some of them come in splashes, some of them come in half lines, and you can see this isopod is half molted. One half of it is lighter, which will be molting next, and one half of it is darker and shinier, which is the half that is already molted. So isopods molt in two halves, which I think is great. Now, I actually got quite a lot of footage of these guys, as you can see, but that's because I was just mesmerised with them. You can see here as well, this is what I was talking about. You see how some have a lighter patch. That is an exoskeleton that needs to be removed over time. So on this one, it seems like the bottom half may actually need molting and the head half looks okay. I adored this one just because there was a lot of white on its face. I say face, that's not the technical term for it, but I just thought it was really, really pretty. And it has some deeper whites on the end of the isopod there. And there were lots of little babbies running around in the tissue that they came with in their box. You always need to make sure when you transfer isopods, when you buy isopods, that you don't leave out the baby. So I actually left the tissue in there. I will remove it if it looks like it's going to start to mould, but it actually hasn't done in the time they have been in there. You can see how inquisitive they are, searching around the enclosure. Now, my original line, my other culture, they do sit a lot on the moss, which is why I made sure to have some nice fresh moss in there, and I love this shot here. Absolutely love it. You've got the greens and the reds of the moss, except for where I had the defocus, of course, and then you have the isopod scuttling along through. You can see that it can't grip the shiny plastic surface there, but it can grip well onto the moss. You always want to be careful when you keep isopod colonies that they cannot escape through ventilation holes, and you have to bear in mind the size of babies too, because not only will they get out and likely die in your home environment, but they may also get into your other colonies, which will make things a little bit more confusing, and they might even fight for dominance if they do start to grow up there, and you can lose an isopod colony that way. So you always want to be super, super careful. So there isn't much more footage of these guys, but I hope you enjoyed them. We only had 2 species coming under the black category, and I figured that these guys are more black than they are white, which is why I put them under black. Let me know if you have any different stripes and morphs of your amaculatum at home. So what did you guys think of today's video? Those maculatum broken stripes are pretty damn cool, right? I know there's probably a bit too much footage of them. I was thinking of chopping it down, but you know what, they're pretty to look at. And I actually have a few in my original maculatum enclosure that have taken on some broken stripes, so I am going to put them into our broken stripe container at some point when I've got a bit more time. But I want to wait for a few more to grow up and see if I have any of the perfect stripes to keep separate too. As for the millipedes, they are doing absolutely fine, although they don't appear to be burrowing much. If you guys keep this species of millipede, are yours out on show a lot? Or do I have to change something in my substrate to get them to dig down? I'm still learning a lot with millipedes, but these particular ones are the only ones out of all the ones that I have featured that are staying on the top nearly all of the time. In fact, it has been all of the time. Anyway, I'm off, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure to watch episode 13 out next Sunday. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.